Hi, I'm Michelle Atlas of Michelle Atlas Coaching. I empower intuitive, creative women to reclaim their self-trust so that they can create change that they never thought possible in their businesses, in their bank accounts, and in relation to themselves, most importantly. And today I'm going to talk to you about my top five tips to strengthen your resilience as an entrepreneur. Tip number one is fill your own tank first. If you were to drive across country, would you drive across on an empty tank of gas waiting to fill it when you got to your destination, or would you fill it before you began? If you waited until you got to your destination, you might not make it all together. And the same goes for any given day in your business. Begin your day fortifying yourself, giving to yourself, filling your own cup. You'll find that you have more stamina. You'll find that you are able to get much more done with much less effort. And you'll find yourself creating and giving to your customers and your clients from a place of fullness, a place of fulfillment and inspiration. So that might mean beginning your day by taking an extra hour to spend some time in nature or journal or exercise or meditate, whatever it is, or read a couple of pages of an uplifting book. Whatever it is for you will be unique to you. We all have our own resilience recipe. And it can be hard to take that time up front when you have the multitude of responsibilities that we're all attending to as entrepreneurs. But again, I assure you that it will fortify your resilience, and the entire rest of your day will be positively impacted when you take that self-care time up front. Tip number two is access multiple intelligences as you navigate your business problems and your business solutions and decisions. So we often approach the entrepreneurial journey and goal setting and strategizing with only our logical mind. Our logical mind is really important. We all need it, and it's an asset in most businesses. And we are much more multidimensional than that. And so we want to access all of our potentials. And what I mean by that is different ways of knowing, different ways of discovering guidance in terms of next steps, new projects, decisions, problem solving, what we really want to be putting forth into the world. I'm talking about using your intuitive way of knowing. I'm talking about accessing your creative way of knowing, possibly trying something you've never done before that may seem a little bit wild and approaching it like an experiment. Sometimes we achieve the best results when we go that way. Attempting some practical solutions, which actually are different from logical sometimes. Practical can be very simple and basic. There are so many different ways that we can know, that we can be guided. So make sure that and there are many different portals to access those different intelligences that one can learn. So make sure that you're not just driving your business decisions with one intelligence. It's easy to burn out when we're not accessing other parts of ourselves. So tip number three, it's a good segue right into tip number three, which is live as a lifelong learner. We hear that phrase a lot, but what does it really mean? So what I'm talking about here is, as an entrepreneur, sometimes we think that we need to have mastered something before we approach it, or we think that we are supposed to know everything about a particular topic or product before we begin to work with it. This can be a huge barrier to business growth. And so we want to approach our business with a spirit of confidence that no matter what happens, we can learn a meaningful lesson, we can course correct, we can change course, and we can experiment with something new, that although we may not have all the answers right at this moment, we will discover them. That building a business is actually a discovery process with many peaks and valleys. It's not necessarily about getting it right the first time or being masterful at everything. One of the most important components to this particular tip is to that I've discovered is to allow yourself to make choices that have meaning and that really touch you. So when you are in the process of putting out a new offer to your customers or clients and you have a choice to make, it's important to take some risks that may or may not, again, where you may need some tweaking and course correction. Take a risk to put forth something that really touches you, and it's highly likely it will touch your clients or customers. That's tip 3. Tip number 4 is empower your relationship to money. As entrepreneurs, we think an awful lot about money. We worry about money. We struggle with money. We worry if there'll be enough money. And when we have enough money, we wonder what to do with it. Tip number 4 involves a shift in perspective. So a lot of our money concerns are actually about more than money. And what happens for people, and they have an awful lot to do with our sense of worthiness, our sense of personal worth, and our value. And so when we approach empowering our relationship to money only with practical money mastery, one size fits all money mastery strategies, we may find ourselves square peg in round hole, feeling like more of a failure than when we even began to implement the strategy. I'm suggesting that there's another wing to the bird, and that's our emotional relationship to money. That's where we've received all sorts of conditioned messages about our, that come from our circle of influence, our families, our faith communities, our schools, etc., about money, and that we tend as children to convert a lot of those messages into beliefs about our personal value. So to empower our relationship to money, we need to look at those beliefs, those emotional drivers of our money decisions, which are creating our current results. Once we change those, it's a different story. The other component to empowering your relationship to money and having a resilient relationship with money is understanding that we each have different money gifts and strengths, and we each have different money blind spots. We're not all the same. There's a lot of diversity. And so it's super important to understand your money gifts and strengths so that you can play to them more fully, because they're portals to money flow, and understanding your money blind spots and illuminating them so you can learn the meaningful lessons available to you there as well. You kind of stop following other people's lists of shoulds and shouldn'ts, and you begin to be you. Nothing will strengthen your resilience faster than that. Tip number 5 is about learning how to go beyond surviving and into thriving. So we hear a lot in the world of resilience and resilience psychology about survival, right? So, and what it means is that, when we have a hardship or a breakdown of some sort, a loss, a change, a challenge, there's a descent. We may go down for a while in some way and experience feelings of, difficult feelings, anger, resentment, grief. The resilient person will cycle through the full range of human feeling, and they will begin then eventually to cope, and then eventually come back to what we call surviving, which is their baseline, which is where they were before the hardship or the change. So they come back to what we might think of as their normal. When we talk about thriving, we're talking about going beyond what was your normal and allowing the impact of the loss or the change or the challenge to have a more transformative effect upon you, to perhaps strip you of a contrived identity or some form of subtle pretense you may not even have known you had, and allow sort of the emergence or the birthing of a deeper, more authentic, more vulnerable part of you to come forth. And as a result of that, accessing creativity, perspective, wisdom that you perhaps did not have before the difficult experience, that you can now bring into your business, as a new dimension to what you're offering, right? Bring you more deeply in line with your soul's true calling in this world. When you bring the depth of you that often comes through some sort of a difficulty into your business, you'll touch other people more deeply as well, and everything becomes less effortful, more energized, more inspired, more resilient. Those are my 5 top tips to fortify your resilience. I'm Michelle Atlas. My website is michelleatlas.com. I look forward to crossing paths with you again soon. Bye for now.